Hey guys, welcome back to Vertical Momentum. I'm your host, Richard Kaufman. No, we're not in the usual studio. We have the American flag up because we're veterans going to be sitting down, dropping some serious knowledge. And at the end, I'm actually going to dropping something new that just coming out today. So make sure you listen till the end. My friend Matthew, he's a veteran. He's been a brother of mine for years. He's got an amazing family. He's changing the game, especially in marketing. Because if you're marketing, we're going to tell you how to make it not suck.
Yeah.
Matthew, brother, welcome to the show. We finally
bro.
got here after all these years.
I know, it's weird.
So, my brother, let me ask you a first question because I do have a TBI. And if I don't ask the question, I will forget it. What is your definition of resiliency?
I think it's doing can I say it? The shit that we don't want to do, the uncomfortable stuff, and then still getting up and doing it no matter what, every day, multiple times a day, and even when you're tired, forcing yourself to do it. Now, obviously, take care of yourself, but you can't have excuses. You got to keep pushing, and you have to have a why for your resiliency as well. I think that's super important. And I've been thinking about this a little bit, but definitely it's having a reason and doing this things that you don't want to do, whether it's picking up the phone, calling somebody, or just putting forth that extra effort to make something stand out and be better. I think those are all super important things.
Well, now, as people know, my old podcast was Success. Your why powers your how.
Yeah.
There's going to be days like we were talking earlier, you're going to get up and you don't want to do but then like you with your bride and taking care of her, she's your why and your family's your why. My bride and my 3 kids are my why. That makes me get up every day. Even if I don't want to record, if I don't want to post anything, it's like somebody needs to help or I need to help.
That's right.
So, first, let's hop back in the DeLorean. We're going to go back in the Wayback Machine. Tell us a little bit about where you came from, where you grew up, and a little bit about your military service.
All right. Well, first off, I always tell people that I'm a Bostonian living down south. I grew up in Boston. I live in Virginia now, just outside of Richmond.
So,
and
Red Sox fan?
Oh yeah.
All right, guys, we got to go.
Red Sox, Bruins, Celtics, Patriots.
Yeah.
Of course.
My best friend is from Boston, and now I don't know how this relationship goes. I'm a Devils fan, I'm a Yankees fan, and I'm a Lakers fan. And I'm a Dolphins fan. So it's like every team we have hates each other, but me and him got so much love, and I love the people from New England. I think they're the most amazing.
They were. Are you talking about resilience? Try wintertime in Boston.
Yeah, because you guys get like 10 feet of snow. It's like
I think it was 13 last year.
Just push it into Boston Harbor. You know what I mean?
That's it. But I live down south now, so I learned how to pronounce the letter R, and that's been a big hit because I talk to people all over the country. But before I get into that, let me just say I'll answer your question. Military side, I was a helicopter mechanic, assigned to an Air Force Special Operations unit. I was Air Force, obviously. I got out as a staff sergeant, and I did just under 10 years, maybe a couple months shy of 10 years when I got it. Just worked out that way. And of course, I'm a Gulf War veteran. I was gray while I was in also, so that's nothing new. And did the Gulf War thing, did Yugoslavia. I don't know if a lot of you guys remember Milosevic. It didn't seem to hit too big here.
Oh yeah, if you were in at that time, you knew.
Yeah. So spent a lot of time in Turkey and Italy, and and lived in England for 5 years. That was pretty awesome. So I mean, I got to see the world, and really appreciative of that, and appreciative of my veteran connections that I have. Not just because of the opportunity, but because of the brotherhood. Because when you're out, you miss that stuff. That's just like your extended family. And I come from a big family. There's 7 of us in my immediate siblings and family, and like the military just seems like a natural extension of my family when my brothers and sisters couldn't be around. I got all you guys. I think that's pretty awesome.
What made you, because you could have, because I'm sure you had a pretty good GT score, so you could have joined the, Marines, Army, Navy. What made you choose Air Force?
Actually, I joined the Army first. Actually, I was going to go into the warrant officer program to fly Cowias. I forget.
Yeah.
Like scout aircraft. That's what they were telling me, at least. And then I found out I had a hernia. So here I am, young guy, went out and I got surgery. I think I was 18, maybe at the time. Had surgery 6-7 months later, came back, and the Army was like, nah, we still don't want you now. So the guy across, hey, you like helicopters? Air Force guys, we'll get you into helicopters. And that's how that started.
Well, I tell everybody, because I have a lot of people ask me, well, what service join? And I'm like, listen, guys, if you want to have a good life, don't join the Marines. Don't join the Army. Join the Air Force, because they have it going on. And I love my Air Force guys. And I always, of course, break Garcia's chops, being an Air Force guy. But I tell everybody, honestly, if you want to join the military at this point in time, I tell everybody join the Air Force.
Yeah, there's a lot of jobs that translate very well to the civilian world. So I definitely concur with that idea. But you know why I joined? First off, I knew that at the time I was living in New Hampshire, up in Dover, New Hampshire, and there's not a super lot going on up there. And I was thinking like, geez, I got to make something of myself. I got to do something with myself. And believe it or not, I wanted to be a wealthy guy. And I know that sounds stupid saying I'm going to join the military to be rich. But I knew in order to get to that level, I had to break through other barriers and get the hell out of town, the podunk town, just make something of myself, that I could use those skills. Should I have gone to college first? Probably, but I didn't.
I interviewed
nice.
Because he said, because I transferred my skills from working on, that kind of helicopter. Now he works for Penske Racing.
Yeah, awesome.
Taking care of their helicopters. So he kind of parlayed his skills into something else.
Yep. And that sort of ties into resiliency too. I mean, what you go through, the things that you learn, the planning that you have, and the ability to see a bigger picture, and have some vision. Like I knew at a young age that for me that I always wanted to, be a business owner. And I've owned a couple businesses. I owned a home inspection business back in the mid 90s when I was actually in the military. I owned it. And funny thing is, I made more on the weekend than I did all month long from my military pay. So that's how I knew this is a good life. I want to do that. And then I got into marketing because I had to market my business. So that's kind of what led me into, the web marketing side of things. And then people were like, hey, can you help me with mine? And that was sort of the genesis of it, even way back then.
All right. So then let's talk about, you said you did close to 10 years. And I believe, if you do a day over 10 years, you might as well do the full thing. If you're in for 6, you're in for a dozen.
Yeah.
So what was your thought process in getting out, and how far ahead did you start planning to get out?
Well, probably the initial reason for getting out wasn't as well planned. I was married before, and honestly, I just wanted to get the hell away from her. Some guys, you go, probably been through that before. I think the new term is there's a Jody around every corner or something like that.
Yeah.
That was her case, but I got a beautiful daughter out of it, so that's a bonus. And her and I are very close.
So, like Sergeant Nick in our group, Sergeant Nick talks about
Yeah.
and I talk about him all the time on the show because his words resonated with me.
Yeah.
Once you step off base, the military doesn't give a shit about you.
No.
Your phone stops ringing. You lose most of your people that you were in contact with, and you don't have a career anymore. So people like myself ended up with a pistol in my mouth and a bottle of whiskey because I didn't know who I was now after 23 years. So what was your transitioning like? What was your story like?
Boy, when I left, I had, my backpack and the clothes I was wearing. I didn't have shit. And that's probably the best thing, to be totally honest with you, because I didn't have a choice. I had to make something of myself. I had to build something that was sustaining and would sustain me. And I was thinking just the other day, my wife and I were sitting in the living room watching TV, and she's like, wow. She's like, this is pretty nice. Like, we were looking around, it's pretty nice digs where I live right now. And she's like, I can't believe just, 5 years ago, there were gunshots all around us every single night where we lived. And that's the truth. And at the time, though, I thought, I'm like, hey, this is pretty nice. This isn't so bad. But now when I look back at it, I'm like, oh my gosh. So I'm just really grateful that it forced me to stay focused on a goal and build something. And this isn't all about, how I built my company and stuff like that. And surely there's other places out there that are a lot more successful than I am. But right now, this fits for my lifestyle quite well.
And I'm in me and you are. I think we're here. The other day, me and my wife were sitting in the jacuzzi in my backyard, and my wife just made a nice surf and turf dinner, and I'm thinking, damn, my life is good. I appreciate because 3 miles away from where I live right now, I used to live in my truck and eat out of garbage cans.
Oh, man.
So now I just I'm so grateful for where I am.
Absolutely.
I'm grateful for where I was, but my vision board is getting bigger.
Yes.
And I think that I think they say, I forget, it's a Bible verse, where the people have no vision, the people perish.
That's true.
So I think that, we appreciate what we have, but we also are looking further about what we also want to achieve. Because like you said, if you don't have a goal, if you don't have a reason, then you're not going to get up those mornings when you don't want to get up. You're going to sleep.
Right.
You know what I mean? But before we even get started, because I want to dig deep, because as you know, I'm the male Oprah, I'm the G.I. Joe Rogan. So I want to thank our sponsors. As you guys know, my T-shirts. Matthew actually was kind enough to buy one, and I'm so grateful.
I should have wore it.
The swag that we do sell comes from Ginger and David Really Designs, as you see down below. I don't make a penny off of it, and that's my choice. It all goes to Project Die Hard, which helps veterans struggling with homelessness and PTSD. So for every T-shirt you buy, we're going to set up to where 12 veterans can bring their families and be taken care for 1 year, financially, spiritually, emotionally, and physically at zero cost to the veteran and their families. So everything I do, I'm always trying to pay forward. So if you love swag with a mission, write swag down below. Also, the way me and Matthew met was I joined the tribe, I don't know, maybe 8 years ago when there was 500 people in there.
Yeah.
Andrew O'Brien was the original.
Yep.
And that's where we met.
Good guy.
And so, guys, if you're a veteran and you want to be a vetpreneur, which is a veteran entrepreneur, you need to join the Vetpreneur Tribe. And especially if you want to join a mastermind, make sure you join the Warrior Council. We are the official sponsor of the podcast of the Warrior Council. So, guys, if you are a veteran and want to be a vetpreneur, make sure you join the tribe. There's 16.5 thousand of us. So if you need help, we got your back. So Matthew, and like I said earlier, I want to thank you for being a friend and a mentor to me.
Yeah. Thank you.
So,
I do have one quick mentorish type thing that I want to pass on to you guys, and you touched on it a moment ago, and that's vision. And I am an avid reader now. I never used to be, but now I am, and I've over the past 6 years, 6 plus 7 years now, I've read over 200 books. Well, I'm more of an Audible kind of a book guy. So, by the way, just as a side note, one of the other things that I deal with is dyslexia. So, like, letters do this a lot when I'm trying to read text. So, in order to hear something and take it in visually, and obviously I can read, but to take it in visually, that helps out a lot. And in one of the books, I obviously can't remember the name of it. It's like, I think it's called Purpose Driven Life.
Yes, by Mr. Rick Warren.
I think that might be him. Yeah.
Yep.
And
he's the pastor of Saddlebrook Church. Yep.
Yes. And he said, is this that guy that speaks with like an accent? Like, let me tell you about this.
Yep.
He was, vision is not just a function of the eyes. It is a gift from God to be able to go into the future. Now, I'm making fun of it, but I'm dead serious, and how powerful it is. It's the ability to go and see yourself in the future, like to time travel, and then to see what you want your life to be like, and then to come back here to the present and figure out the steps to get back there. When I heard that, that was so powerful for me and impactful. And I still use that, in my thought process today. And it's just amazing how well it works.
And, and I did a post this morning, about having a vision board, about prayer, about meditation.
I saw it.
For me, for some reason, I don't know why I want to go to Atlantis one day.
Yeah.
I want to be able to take my family to Atlantis. I don't know. And it's been on my dream board for 10 years. My wife just booked a cruise, and we're going to be going to Nassau. We're going to be going to the Bahamas. We're going to be going to Florida.
Oh, nice.
And I'm booking a day to go to Atlantis.
Yeah.
But I seen myself in Atlantis 10 years ago. Just like now I see myself. And guys, if you know me, I'm a Christian guy. I believe my Lord and Jesus, my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. We own nothing on this earth.
That's right.
He lets us borrow it.
Yep.
So I'm just borrowing a house. Why can't I borrow a big vacation home?
That's
it's
right.
not mine. So why can't I borrow it and use on my vision board? I have a vacation home. I have a pontoon boat. I got a brand new Jeep. That's it. And I got the color picked out and everything. But it's on my vision board, and I visualize it every night before I go to bed. So please talk about visualization and having vision.
In simple terms, that what you focus on grows. Simple, I think. You have to have not just a plan. Like most of us, like I'm thinking about this. I really want that. That's not focusing on what you really want. Because in order to focus on something, you got to make a plan, which is why I say have the vision, go to the future, if you will, and then figure out what you want, which is we're all pretty good at that, but most of us don't do the other part of coming back and then figuring out the steps to get there. When I got out of the Air Force, primarily because I got divorced and all that jazz. That's actually not a bad thing. I'm glad I went through that process. But when I did that, I remember coming home and my brother-in-law was like, "Oh God, you're ruined. You're ruined. You've got nothing. Your life is over." And I was like, "Nah, man." And like within 3 or 4 months, I was back on top. I had gotten into the Boston Police Department D4, and working with the Auxiliary Police Department, which is a paid position, not a free one, and was able to rise up to the rank of captain, where I had 75 officers underneath my command within, the term of a year. And then I don't want to say I was balling. I wasn't balling, but I was, you know, but I remember like writing out the steps, writing down the things that I wanted, and then meticulously writing down a daily plan of how to get there for the things that I wanted. Obviously, right off the bat, you know what, dude? I need a car. I need a job. I need something. So like I took the time to write down each step that I wanted. And it was the first time in my life I've ever really seen success by working, having a plan and working. You always hear, plan your work the plan, whatever. But like to actually do it and get success is, once you know, you know.
But I think, for me, like somebody told me last year that you need to focus on something. And for me, and somebody says, well, you need to pick a word or 2 words, and that's your words for the year. And I was like, yeah, that's bullshit. That don't work. So
Okay,
what I did is New Year's Eve, I wrote down for what I want for 2023 was my 2 words were intention and attention.
Yep.
So if it doesn't have, and I realized that if my life didn't have, if I wasn't living intentional, and if I wasn't getting attention, the podcast is not going to be successful.
Exactly.
So I had to put, okay, God, family, friends, and business. Other than that, I don't have time for anything else in my schedule.
Right.
So talk to us about, because I live for Calendly. I live on a calendar. Everything I do, my days are planned. Even fun is planned.
Yeah.
So talk about living purposely and living with intention, especially in business.
Yeah. You can't do this business without having things in place and systems in place. And like easily, like today, nowadays with CRM tools and AI and stuff like that, that helps me multiply my abilities. I used to have a team of 25 people throughout the country and the world that would help me. And now I'm down to 3 people, not because of a failure of success. Like we're way more productive than we ever were. I just don't need that anymore. And having the focus to what am I trying to say here? being that you have the systems in place gives you the ability to work on the things that matter most. And
okay, but then also I'm seeing this in new business because I consider I'm old school, but I'm new school at the same time. But I realize that so many people are so tech friendly that they forget to be social. They forget that business is
that's why we got to do this. That's why we
yeah.
got to talk and see people and meet them. I totally agree with that.
And I believe if you want to build a successful brand on social media, you have to be social.
Yeah.
For me, because Gary Vaynerchuk, my friend, he taught me a lot. So for the first 2 hours of my day, I'm interacting with everybody that on my post and all that stuff because I'm building relationships.
Yep.
But a lot of people I see, they don't do that, and they wonder why their bottom line is not growing because people are not invested in them, and they're not going to invest in their company.
Yeah. A simple thing is just like when someone says something online to me, and this is something that's sort of relatively new for me that I do, is like I'll take the time to actually reply to them and give a more thoughtful response. Not a huge paragraph, but just something a little bit more. And if it goes beyond 1 or 2 times I'm replying back to them, that's okay. Because guess what? They feel valued. And I generally do care about all the people that I interact with. And I like the fact that I get friendships that are interactive both ways. And I didn't even know that was really a business thing. It's not done for business. It's done probably more for my own selfish reasons that I want a deeper connection with the people that I interact with, and not the superficial like or whatever.
But also, like I said, Gary just taught me a lot. Even the people, like, I know I'm starting to get haters, and that's okay, because even if they write something negative, I'm going to say, hey, have a blessed day. How are you doing today?
Yeah.
And I'm going to be like, wait a minute, I just slammed him, and now he's asking me how am I having a nice day, and I'll direct message it. I'll be like, hey, we might have got off at the wrong foot. I might have said something. I apologize. How's your day
Yeah.
going? Now all of a sudden I got a raving fan, and it was just because I took the time to say, we may disagree on certain things.
Yeah.
But even if they came back and yelled at me, I'm still kicking up in their algorithms because they answered me. So it's a win-win situation by being social. You know what I mean?
That's true. That's true.
So talk to us a little bit about marketing, branding, especially on web 8.9, whatever it is now.
9.6.
Because I'm like, yeah, just keep adding numbers. It's all right. Talk to us a little bit about, because when you got into the marketing and branding business, it's a lot different than it was just 6 months ago.
Yeah,
So
it is.
Marketing and branding in 2023.
All right, 2023 for me, like one thing I keep hearing from people is, "Oh my God, you're everywhere. I see you, online. I see your web stuff, and I see you all on this. I see videos that you do, and all, like, how do you have time for that?" And my answer to that simply is, the systems in place, having AI and just using, basic tools that can help you, repropagate material that's out there, and it, it's so easy to get distracted and get overwhelmed. But the one thing I've been focusing on this year is just to try and, share little tidbits. And some of my stuff is crap. I wouldn't even watch it. But it's like it's something. It just gets you out there in front of people for them to see you. I have some videos that I had started on YouTube where I'm just talking about, like keywords and the different types of keywords and the intent of them, and just stuff like that. And to me, it's very, very basic stuff. But it's like, wow, that was amazing. People were like, this was such good information. And the fact that you cared enough to share with us, it's just so amazing. And I do. I generally want to help people, but I also don't want to be inauthentic, if that makes sense. Is that the right word?
Oh yeah,
I don't want to be fake.
There's some people in our tribe that
Yeah.
used to be bigwigs that are very inauthentic. I ain't saying any names. I ain't getting sued.
Yeah.
But there's some people like that right now. And
Yeah.
and me and you are along the same lines. I am who I am. I'm not going to pretend to be different. If we ever meet up, you're getting a big hug.
Same here.
I'm going to tell people if I'm having a good day, if I'm having a bad day, it's going to be all the time. But sometimes
Excuse me.
People would rather watch a video from you because they know you're being real and you're not just trying to sell a course. You're not just trying to sell something. You're like, I just picked up Alex Hermosi's book, 100 Million. I forget what the last part is. And I'm on my second iteration, but it's amazing how just being real and being honest, people are more likely to interact with you if they know, wait a minute, he's giving all this shit away for free. Imagine what you do when you pay him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like for me, in that same mindset, I care about I care about the success of other people. And maybe that's like some people will be like, oh, you just gotta, stop giving away your stuff for free and stop giving all the information away. Like, look, if that was a problem, every one of y'all that are my customers would have walked away a long time ago, and you would have done it yourself. So, I'm glad that that what I say helps people or gives them a better understanding, because it's not easy, and to have someone in your corner on your team. Well, first off, every single one of my clients are my friends now. And like I even vacation with one of them. I just got back from vacation last month. We went down to Myrtle Beach with one of my clients I've been with for 6 years now. and I vacation with his family. He pays for everything. It's a pretty good deal on my part. But the reason we had that is because we genuinely care, and I genuinely care about his success, and you become an integral part of that family. I think that's a veteran trait, personally. I really do.
Okay, so now because the majority of the people that listen to the show are vet and vetpreneurs,
Mm-hmm.
what are some of the positive things that you've taken from your military service, like writing SOPs, writing 9 lines? What are some of the things that you took and now apply it to business?
I never really distinguished myself so separate from like that which what I learned in the military, because I always thought that was just me and who I was anyways. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it's just a learned thing and I'm too stupid to figure it out. But and definitely it's being honest and straightforward and given, if you don't know the answer, tell them I don't know the answer. I'll find out for you. I used to work up in aircraft maintenance operations, the control center. It's called the MOC, and basically it's like you're basically like the ground control for what's going on the flight line, but for the maintenance side of things. And I would have colonels and generals that I would have to report to, and they were like, Matt, we just want, when you come here, just give us the straight facts, straight up. And if you don't know, say, I don't know. But find out. And so definitely being prepared. Now, I know this is a little off the cuff and I'm not super prepared for my answers, but being prepared when you're talking to your customers or you're working on their behalf, that's super important. I think that's definitely something the military has taught. And also that, the day doesn't end at 5:00. I have a lot of folks that, because of the industry that I'm in security, they're up at 3:00 in the morning. Well, guess what? If they're up at 3:00 in the morning and they need me, I'll get up at 3:00 in the morning for them. I think that is part of the, the character that the military has brought, to me, just like it has for you. And when you're like, I think of character as like, not like, oh, that guy's a clown. He's a character. It's who you are like inside that matters, and like what you would do or wouldn't do, even if someone was watching or not. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes a lot of sense because
Yeah.
Everybody knows I've been clean and sober 34 years.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, if you see me popping bottles on Instagram with strippers, and here I'm saying I'm a family man, I don't drink. You're like, wait, hold on, wait, what just happened? And you just blew all your credibility that you ever had because you're doing something that's not in your character, right?
Right. But it's okay to fail too. Like, we're gonna fail at times, but that's why it's such a hard, narrow road to stay on. And like, we don't ask for the things that happen to us in our lives, but we, just like the road. I don't know if everybody, if you don't know his story, you got to watch it. It's pretty amazing. And straight up, bro, you were kind of a dirtbag.
Oh, total shit show.
Yeah. Like, oh, holy crap. But the fact that, like, how you've turned things around and the man that you become, man, I'm inspired by that. And I think that's just fantastic, because you have to realize that, first off, everybody goes through some serious struggles. You, me, everybody. But like, what you do with it matters. And that's why, being here and having you as a friend, that's a blessing, man. And I'm so impressed by, the turnaround.
No, thank you. But I didn't do it alone.
No, you didn't.
And I also realized that if I didn't join the vet tribe 8 years ago, whatever, there's maybe 10 people I consider in my inner circle in the tribe. And you're one of them.
Thank you.
Daniel Curry, Mark Dudek, Tammy Moses, Kurt Balish, Greg Clark. These are people that I know. I need something at 3 a.m. They're in the truck. they're rolling out.
Yeah.
So I know that for me, and as you see, I'm writing stuff down because it's things that I want to talk about that you said.
Sure.
You said at one time you had a really big team, and now you're down to 3.
Yeah.
But sometimes I think it's better to have. I always say it's better to have 4 shiny quarters than 100 dirty pennies.
Yep.
So sometimes I think if you keep a small circle, but it's a tight circle, it's a lot easier and manageable. So talk about building a winning team in business.
Well, you got to take your emotions out of it for sure, because it's hard to build a team. People are they'll be good for a season, and for the time they are, but then when they're not, you got to be able to let them go, and you got to be able to let yourself go as well. I mean, like when a client no longer wants to be with you, you got to be okay with them wanting to go. But the people that you find are, they're hard. It's hard to find a good team that's gonna have the same vision as you do. So once you find those people, man, hold on to them, treat them well, pay them well. Leviticus 19 or 17, treat your employees well and pay them well, or something like that.
Yeah.
I only remember that because a boss of mine told it to me once.
Well, even even Robert Kiyosaki said, I pay my attorney extremely well. I pay the accountant well. And that's intentional, because they know that if Robert's in trouble and he's paying me the most, guess who's getting attention?
That's right.
Right.
That's absolutely right.
So, okay. Another thing you talked about, because when I lost my vision, my hearing got a lot better. Not according to, but my hearing got better.
Not according to your wife.
But, you said, you were alluding to that, a lot of veterans, and like I said, I've been in the tribe from the beginning. They've had 12 different businesses.
Yeah.
And they're not successful. Focus, follow one course until successful. And that's something that Stephen Eugene Kuhn told me when we met at MIC, why I wasn't succeeding, because I was everywhere.
Yeah.
I think that if you don't, like, my mentor is John Lee, my mentor, and he told me you need to super niche down until it hurts, because then, like, I know that my perfect avatar is a 45-year-old male, father of 3, veteran, new business owner. His name is Craig. That's who I talk to every time the show comes on, because I'm super down, and I know, because I think Jim Rohn said, if you're talking to everybody, you're talking to nobody.
Yeah.
So talk to us about niching down, especially in what you do, how you niche down instead of doing everything for everybody.
So in 2007, my company Webmatic started. I started that company, and I was doing SEO, web marketing for everybody and anybody. I had clients that were florists, electricians, plumbers, retail, space rental. What do you call those? The office space type rental things. Like I had a lot of different niche clients, and I was good at it. I was certified. I know the technical aspect of it, but I had mastered none of them. And it wasn't until I started getting a couple clients in this one industry that I'm in, which is security now. And that was almost 7 years ago now. And then I just realized, I was like, geez, like this is hard to do all this and to manage all these things. And then if you get a new customer, you have to ramp up to speed on what their industry is. And I already have a background in security. So it just made sense to make that my niche. And we can talk about this here in a little bit, but also I had a life-changing event. My wife suffered a hemorrhagic stroke after emergency brain surgery. So now all of a sudden I'm the primary caregiver, and I pretty much a screw up anyways. I didn't even know how to do the laundry myself or pay the electric bill. She took care of all that stuff. So I had to restart that, and so niching was not just a good thing, it was a necessity. I had to simplify things, and now like I don't do all the like there's all these different avenues and aspects in web marketing. When I say web marketing, for me, all I do is pay-per-click. I'm a Google Ads certified pay-per-click consultant, and I run ads and get leads for my security guard companies. It's pretty tight. And they always ask me, "Oh, can you do this? Can you do social media?" I'm like, I can, but I'm not going to. I've probably put a lot, and people are like, "Oh, you're leaving a lot of money on the table," and I'm like, I don't think so, because my clients stay with me usually more than a year, and it's successful, and it's easy, it's repeatable, and it's not all over the place because I'm focused on what the job is at hand, which makes me even more of an expert at what I'm doing, if that makes sense.
Oh, it does, because like I said, I'm listening to this book by Hermazi, and something he says sometimes you just want to niche slap somebody, not bitch slap, but niche slap.
Yeah,
because they're all over the place. It's kind of like, I'm a big sports geek. I love sports. I always have, and I learn a lot from sports. There's some players that great basketball players. They were great at basketball, but then they started getting into rap music. Then they started getting into producing. And then they're out of the league within 3 years because they didn't stick with what made them successful. Like Kobe Bryant, which is my favorite guy.
Yeah.
He didn't start getting into other things until he left basketball. He says, because basketball, I stay in my lane, but I dominate that bitch. I dominate my lane, but I don't go into other lanes. But I think as entrepreneurs, once we start getting a little bit successful, we start getting that shiny object syndrome, and then we're totally off the rails. So and I know you've seen it a lot, so talk about it.
Yeah. So I started out. So I have a degree in computer science. I went to Texas Tech. I have a bachelor's in computer science, and so programming was my thing. And I got really interested in building marketing software that would help me get, just help me generate leads and more like generate for prospecting and stuff like that. Just get that kind of information. I got into web scraping and all that stuff, and it was fun, and I was really talented at it. I have a huge skill set that goes way beyond most people in my career field here, and I also did industrial robotics. So like I have quite a wide breadth of knowledge to pull from, which kind of makes me like that, the person that's over here doing this for all these years. And you have to stay, I keep saying you have to stay focused. Let me focus. So I started out doing started out doing the marketing software, and it became a thing where people were like, well, if it could just have this one feature to do that. So I'd spend 70 hours trying to get in this little feature that saved 0.3 seconds of time. And it dawned on me one day, I'm like, you know what? Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And we spend so much busy work time. We spend a lot of time doing busy work crap. And the more that I've been able to offload the busy work through automation, through AI and stuff like that, the easier my life has become. And it has to be that way. Like I said, my wife had a stroke 6 years ago, a hemorrhagic stroke. So basically what that means is it's like an aneurysm. You have a burst blood vessel in your brain. They she was in the hospital already, had just had brain surgery like 30 hours prior. They called me at 3:00 in the morning, Norfolk Hospital in Virginia. And they said, hey, you got to come say goodbye to your wife. She's dying. I'm like, holy crap. And I'm like, if you can just imagine the trauma of just even trying to drive, to the store and fumbling, getting the keys in the ignition and just trying to do that. That was more PTSD than I've ever experienced in my life. And sorry, guys. So she became my why. And obviously I had 25 people at the time. I had 150 clients. I had to, tell people and say, look, I got to back off from this. If you want to stay with me, great. If not, I don't care. You're not with me anyways. And I'm sorry if that's a little crude, but you know, you got to do what's right for you. And for me, it was taking a step back, figuring out, you know, the clients that were with me, and I ended up with like 6 people, 6 clients. Thank God it was enough to pay my mortgage, to pay my vehicle and the other bills that I had. Thank you God for that. But it sort of also let me know who was truly in my corner.
Mm-hmm.
Because before I was just taking their money for the sake of having money, growing this big thing, and you know, and being happy. Yeah, I was making money, you know, and I had a decent cushion, but the purpose of it all changed for me after my wife got sick and had her stroke. She was in a coma for 2 weeks, and we had to, you know, over the course of 7 months, she had to learn how to walk. She's still learning how to speak. She's very, very slurred in her speech, and she needs a cane. Thank God we're on a cane now. It used to be a wheelchair, now then a walker, and now it's a cane. And she was 45 when that happened. That's pretty young to go through something so traumatic. And but she became the why. So like everything all at once had to absolutely be niched down and get super focused on what I was doing to make things work. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been sustainable. And we had an office that we pulled everything back here. Like this is my office now. So, you know, one of the rooms in my house, and it's just been, it's nice now because like now I'm like it's a smaller operation, but we're more productive, and I can just breathe better and know that we're okay. When you're all over the place, you can't do that. When you're offering 40 million, I think I was offering 25 different services, actually 36. I just looked at my old website and I was counting them today. I'm like, holy crap, that's a lot of extra stuff to be handling. And then each one was in its own little different industry, whether it be plumbing, electrical, dental, or whatever. And look, even with 25 people, that's not sustainable. Not like that. It's not, at least.
Well, and like I said, we're going to talk about how we can help your wife and your family, to help other families, because I'm a stroke survivor,
Yes.
so I get it. But you know, like you're talking about, as far as, you know, niching down, is there's 1,000 heart surgeons out there.
Mm-hmm.
There's one Dr. Oz.
Yeah.
There's one.
Yeah.
And people know him, and I've learned from Robert Garcia, from taking his courses. You know, you can either be known or you could be a celebrity in your field, and there's a big difference. And if you niche down enough and you put enough work in, you're going to be
a big fish in the little pond.
Yep,
for sure.
And I truly love that. Something you said earlier, because I've noticed a lot of veterans. Thank God I'm able to do what I do. I think you're like my 1,000-something interview, and I've had doctors, lawyers, millionaires, billionaires, authors, and I out from each person. And I had a guy named Rich Davini. He's a retired Navy SEAL commander, and he wrote a book called Mutes. And I picked up something
called what? What's it called?
Great book. But I used the 3-minute rule.
Okay.
And the 3-minute rule is, whether I win or I lose, I either sit 3 minutes and then get back on the trail, or I grieve for 3 minutes and get back on the trail.
I like that.
If you win, a lot of people like, okay, I won the NBA championship, and they'll never sniff it because they're satisfied. Mm-hmm. Or you get a person that lost championships and now just think that they're a loser, and they'll never sniff it again. So I use the 3-minute rule. So what's on, you know, because I always say that failure is an event, it's not a person. So talk about dealing with wins and losses.
Well, I think as an entrepreneur, I think it's safe to say I've probably had more losses than wins, you know, but you know, the wins have been pretty good, thankfully, especially this past year or so. You know, the wins are good. When you're failing, well, I don't even like to think of the word failing because it's like you're not a victim. If you choose the life of an entrepreneur, you're not a victim. You have the ability to make the change in your life that you need to do, regardless of the situation that you're in. The situation you're in, that's just where you are at that moment. It's just a snapshot. It honestly doesn't mean anything. Case in point, today, I lost a client. Right before this call, he sent me a message saying, Matt, I really appreciate you. We've gotten some great leads, but for us right now, we just need to back off. And so I was like, shit, that's $4,000 a month. That's someone's yearly or someone's salary, basically. But instead of I'll tell you, I had a little twinge about it, from the fair, but then I was like, shit, you know what? The bonus, and thank you, God, that I've had him as a client for 2 years. Thank you, God, that I have the ability to go get other ones. 10 minutes after that happened, I got a lead that came in through someone had found a lead through my website, and it's right in his backyard. I'm like, there you go. I'm like, and I have the skill and the ability to get a new client, which I'll probably end up closing him this week. I'm sure of it. Maybe not this week, maybe next week, because I'm going on vacation here in a couple of days. But when you see yourself as a victim, you don't see the opportunities before you, and you only see the problems. When you build up your skill set and you have a good team and good systems in place, the opportunities seem like, they're always there, but when you're prepared for them, you can see them a lot better. I think that's what I'm trying to get out of that.
I get it, and I appreciate that. Now, because like I said, I think it's like August 10th, 2023.
Yep.
So if somebody was going to start a business August 14th, 2023, what would be the 3 most important things you would tell them to do even before they started their business?
All right. First off would be get a mentor. Find someone who has done what you want to do, and follow them, and get in front of them, and use them, because they've made all the mistakes already, or the majority of them. And I'm not talking about I want to be a $10 million a year business, which I'm not. But I wouldn't start out at that. I'd be like, all right, I want to be the guy that made $4,000 or $10,000 or $25,000 a month. And you get yourself aligned with those kinds of people, and also the people that you surround yourself. Like, you guys have all heard, the sum of all the 5 people that you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
And that's true.
Yeah.
That is very, very true.
Yeah.
Simple case in point, my father-in-law lives with us. He's 84. He's a retired Marine, actually. Great guy. And but he's 84. So sometimes after I spend time with him, I find myself going, geez, I'm in pain. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, no, I can't. You can't be like that. And then you have to be around people that are energized, and if that means, like, for me, obviously, look at me, I'm fat. I'm a fat guy. I got to get out and I got to start working some more. I know that, and I am actually working on that.
Well, but I decided I'm not fat, trans slender, so I identify as being skinny.
Yeah. I'm a skinny elephant. That's how I identify.
I'm skinny. My bones are skinny. So
yeah, that's it. That's
so
fine.
The first one would be mentorship. I mean, third would be mentorship.
Yep. And then spend a little time thinking about the things that you like to do. And now a lot of people, it's like, it could just be like, oh, I like helping people. I mean, it's like, I think you gotta dig a little bit deeper than that. When you're looking at, you could do underwater basket weaving or whatever, which is a popular pastime in the Air Force, or maybe the Navy, I don't know. But it probably doesn't pay very well, and you got to think about, all right, the effort that I'm going to put in for this, is it actually going to be worth my while to give me the lifestyle that I want? And you could be like, oh, well, that's very selfish, and and shallow, but it's not. Because like if you think about what kind of lifestyle you want, like in my situation here, like I have to think about my wife also because like I'm diabetic. I'm 52 years old. I mean, I won't be around probably as long as she will. Even though she had a stroke, I probably won't be around as long as her. But I can do things to make it better. I can exercise and live a healthier life, eat better, keep a better positive mentality. Um, to improve my mental state, which I'm obviously having a hard time with today.
Because you're hanging out with me, so
No.
so
You're making me,
yeah. and then trying and then being where you're at and realizing how important things are. So,
yeah.
right.
And the other thing too, like the number one thing is, can I just speak frankly?
Sure.
Don't be a pussy. Don't be a freaking pussy. Like, yeah, you're gonna go through some shit. It's gonna suck. You're gonna eat some dirt, and it ain't gonna be fun. But if you're not doing the things that make you uncomfortable, you're never gonna get better at it. We've heard the analogy of, oh, your life is like a thermostat. I'm doing this because back in the old days, you had to actually turn the thermostat by hand. And if you're just constantly set at 70 degrees, well, shit, 74 feels hot and uncomfortable. And, a simple example of that is when I was in the Air Force, I was stationed at Herbert Field, which is the headquarters for Air Force Special Ops. And I moved from England to Florida. Well, my first 2 weeks, every day we'd get out and we'd do a FOD walk, looking for stuff on the flight line for, stuff that could get ingested into the jet engines. And for almost 2 weeks straight, I passed out every friggin' morning on the runway because I wasn't used to the heat. And then after a while, I got used to it to the point where I was just an E4 at the time. So like we didn't have a lot of cash, especially coming back to the States, not having the, COLA and all the other overseas housing allowance. I was shocked at how little money we had. So we had to throttle the AC, and we couldn't keep it as cool and as what we were comfortable with. So AC, I think, came on at like 89 degrees. But before, the 5 years prior to that, that would have freaking hospitalized me. I mean, shit, I passed out like almost every day. And it got to the point where they're like, nah, you just sit here, just sit in the chair, Johnson, you're fine. And I'm sure if there's any guys here that remember those days for me, they'll probably have a good time razzing me about that.
But because I had a rough day yesterday. I was stupid yesterday. So, but I asked for forgiveness and I was down on myself. And then I went to bed. Rocky Balboa was on.
Yeah.
And the scene, as soon as I turned it on, the scene came on where the young lady said to him, "Fighters fight." And I was like, "Holy shit. They're talking. I'm not going to be that pussy. I'm going to fight and do what I'm supposed to do." And then she, like she was saying that, it's not everybody's journey. It's your journey. And we were trained to be leaders. And I think we need to get back to that warrior mentality, right?
Yep. And that's the biggest thing I think the military has taught me. Because before the military, I was kind of meek, I guess, maybe. I had brothers that would, thankfully they toughened me up, but I wasn't a tough person. Mentally, I don't think I was. But I could take more than what I realized I could take. Probably just like most of us here, like when you graduate basic training, how many of us were like, wow, I did that? I've had a lot of, wow, I did that type moments because, you don't necessarily believe in yourself until you do something. So going back to that, to raising the bar for yourself or turning up the thermostat to make it uncomfortable. Yeah, it's going to be uncomfortable and you're not sure about it, but then eventually you're going to start believing in what you're doing. You're going to see the results and results turn into, action, or action turns into results, and then it just makes it so much easier down the road. So now when I pick up the phone, like when my wife had her stroke and I came back to work, it used to be scary to pick up the phone and call people. I'd always feel nervous inside. And now I'm like, that ain't nothing after what I've been through. And then I think about all the stuff I've gone through with the military, and this and just everything in general. Maybe that's maturity in life. I don't know. Maybe I'm not special.
No, but
But
what you're saying is, you need to get comfortable
yeah,
being
uncomfortable.
because there's somebody in my life, they want to be the smartest person in a room.
Yeah, sorry about that.
For me, if somebody says, hey, you can either be the smartest person in a room, or you could sit down in a room with David Meltzer and Vaynerchuk. That's the room that I want to be in.
I was gonna say that's the room I'd rather be in.
You know what I'm saying? I'll be the dummy in the room, but I'm going to soak up all that knowledge because I already know what I know.
You're right.
I don't. They know.
Yeah.
So that's where I want
that's
to be.
A big point too is like you got to know what you know, and sometimes that means standing your ground. When you're a new business, you gotta know what you know, and I'll say it again, you got to stand your ground sometimes, and that's uncomfortable because you're gonna get. Also keep training, like learn sales closing techniques, whether it's Grant Cardone or Gary or whomever. Like learn techniques, because most people's objections are just a premeditated, or just a built-in rejection, and they're not really rejections. They're more like a complaint. So you gotta just and I wouldn't do this in my personal life with people. This is just dealing with business per se. Like when people are objecting to what you're telling them, you agree with them. Always agree with them, and then and then talk to them in a way that makes sense so they understand. I don't want to get into the whole thing. This isn't about teaching everybody about that stuff.
You're going to teach them when they do hire you, because for me, I believe
that's right.
God gives me 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, so
Mm-hmm.
I can listen twice as much as I speak. And when I was selling timeshare, when I first started, I was talking didn't sell shit. I started listening and I started crushing it, because people will tell you how to sell them. You just got to be listening. So anyway, I want them to be able to go to you for that help. But how do we find you? How do we support you? And more importantly, how can we help bride? That's more important to me than the business.
That is very important, because this October we are going to Florida for a treatment for her stroke, and it's a breakthrough treatment that's not yet covered by insurance, and but it's called a paraspinal Intracept. I think I said that correctly, and it's kind of an amazing thing. There's been over 5,000 people treated for it right now. It's just not covered by insurance yet, but eventually it will be. But we're raising money. I actually need to raise about $21,000 out of pocket for this trip that we're doing. And I think we're at to about $4,000 right now that people have donated, which is great. The website for that, and you can hear her story. It's actually quite moving. It's iwillexist.com. And let me just double check, make sure that's up before iwillexist.com. Yes. And it's stroke recovery treatment, brain surgery gone wrong. And that's the video that's on there.
And of course I'll put that in the liner notes so people can actually.
So we're raising money for this treatment that we're going to go to on October 5th. We have to go down to Boca Raton for it. It's a week-long thing, so we'll be there from the 5th to like the 13th or something like that. And she'll get multiple treatments. And basically, it's a shot that goes in the base of her spine up into her brain that will help reduce not necessarily brain swelling, but the scar tissue, and help improve blood flow in that part of the brain. So when people that have had that, from that, you can find it by Googling like stroke recovery 60 minutes, Boca Raton or something like that. And you can see their video how 60 Minutes did a piece on it. It's pretty amazing. And people have had in 20 or 30 minutes, all of a sudden they go from like, to immediately being able to speak clearly and to moving. And like right now she's very, I think the term is called spastic. Like she's very slow in her movements, or she grabs onto something. It's like, okay, let go, let go, let go. She can't quite let go as easily because that part of her brain is damaged.
She wraps her hands around your neck.
Yeah. She's so sweet. My wife is so sweet and loving and honestly, I'll tell you guys something. I was going to divorce her. She was acting really weird the months leading up to her needing the brain surgery. Turned out that like one day she came home from work and she had been real bitchy. And she'd come home from work and she wasn't feeling good. And, she's just being real nasty. She had left her car at work and took a taxi home, which of course PO'd me because I'm a jerk. And I had went into my office at the time we were living in Virginia Beach. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to divorce her. That's it. This is not going good. It's been months and months. She's been really aloof and nasty. And it's like, God, like, please give me a sign. Let me know what's going on. So about 1:00 that next morning, I had woken up because I was low. I had low blood sugars. And I went in there and she was on the couch and she's like, hey, I don't feel so good. Me being the northern asshole that I am, I'm like, hey, how many fingers have I got up? What's your name? Except she really thought it was 1996. That's what she replied. And she was dead set that it was 1996. And she was very distraught when she found out that it wasn't, that it was really 2016. And I was like, oh shit, like something's wrong. This isn't right. And she was like, no, I promise we'll go to the hospital, tomorrow morning, first thing. Like your blood sugars are low right now. You can't even drive anyways. You can't let's just wait till the morning. So I'm like, all right. And then that next morning, 7:30 a.m., we went to her doctor and they sent us across the street to the emergency room because she knew something wasn't right. And they did a CAT scan. And the doctor came out to me and says, I have some good news and some bad news. And, the good news is that, we caught this early enough. The bad news is you have what's called a colloidal cyst. And it's like a golf ball sized cyst in the center of your brain. And to be honest with you, we don't quite know how you're even alert and walking around or anything. She's like, that's a miracle right there. And then the guy that did the surgeon that did the initial brain scan thing says, Mr. Johnson, can I talk to you for a minute? And he said, can I ask you a question? Like, yeah. He's like, has she been very aloof and nasty and just not herself, but for many, many months leading up to this? I was like, yeah. He's like, listen, I need to tell you this. Like, he's like, I feel like this is God telling me to tell you this. It's not her fault. This is 100% because of that cyst in her brain. So whatever she's been done, however she's been to, because before I'm guessing she was lovely, which she was. She was awesome. He said, this is the cyst that has caused this. Man, Rich, I instantly fell back in love with my wife. And it's been like so strong ever since. So like no matter what we go through, now I know, that it wasn't me or the situation. And like I've been married before, so I thought it was like, oh great, another one. Like, and starting to think, what's going on? Is it me? It probably was. But she's just so much in love with her. So now I'll do everything and anything to give her back some part of her life, which is why we're doing that treatment.
So, like, guys, if you're listening, it's iwillexist.com, correct?
Yep.
Okay. Now, how if somebody wants to hire you or get in touch with you for business-wise, how do we get?
Pretty easy. Webmatic247.com. Except when you say the .com part, you got to sing it. .com. I get all these big burly guys singing .com to me all the time. It's funny.
Brother, I just want to say thank you. I'm glad we finally got to hang out and jam.
Me too.
I appreciate you, and I love your bride, and I love everything you're doing.
Thank you.
I'm actually going to release this probably next week. It's not scheduled to go out for a while, but we need to get some money coming in to be able to take care of.
Bro. I appreciate that.
So, guys, as you know, I have, like I said, over 1,000 interviews. I've been in recovery for over 34 years. I've worked with players from NFL, Major League Baseball, WWE, NBA. So I've started my own coaching business. So far, I'm only allowing 5. And 3 sold up, so I have 2 spots available. It's a 90-day coaching business. If you need help, if you're struggling in business or in life, I will be your personal coach for the next 90 days. And if you guys are listening to this now, it's 50% off because you guys are listening to the podcast today. So, guys, if you need a coach, I am the comeback coach. I love you. I love you guys. And as you guys know, I'm a Joel Osteen guy. He always said, and you mentioned earlier, we can choose to be the victim or the victor.
That's so, amen. That's so true.
So, guys, I know you make that choice today to be the victors and not the victims. Brother, I love you, and I can't wait to see what we can do together, and I can't wait to help so you can get your bride to Florida in October.
Awesome. Love you, bro. Thank you so much.
I love you. All right, guys, remember, vertical momentum, the only way to go is up, and I will catch you in about 45 minutes. Love you guys.
Bye.